Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this first session. And for those of you who tried to get in the room in the spring, you realize they gave us this huge room. So, you could have 2 chairs if you wanted to. I'm Karen Myers. I'm an instructor in academic learning skills, and I want to thank you for coming today to the sequel of our guest panel presentation in the spring on homeless and hungry but resilient LCC students. Due to the overwhelming response we had in the spring, the in-service coordinator encouraged us to do this same presentation on this topic that we began 4 months ago. If you live in the Eugene-Springfield area, you already know that homelessness is a big issue, generating a lot of attention. One letter to the editor in the Register-Guard earlier this month caught my attention because its concluding paragraph captured the intent of this session today. Quote, "The question is, do we turn our backs on struggling fellow humans because it's not pretty work and we don't have easy fixes? Or do we roll up our sleeves and do the hard, sometimes messy work of finding and creating real answers?" Unquote. The panel here today is composed of concerned LCC students and employees who are willing to do the hard work of finding answers that may help LCC students who are homeless and hungry as they continue their journey to success. Their names are listed on the green session outline before you. And we actually apologize for the amount of paper. Some of you are probably thinking, my goodness, all these handouts. But we have so many groups represented here, and they all wanted information to go out to you. And I assure you the leftovers are going to show up in employee mailboxes this week. So our colleagues in your department will get the information too. But before we begin, I want to draw your attention to what is on the back from Beverly Farfan. On this outline, it's about the Lane's I Can, One Can food drive. So be sure to bring some cans of food in for that. The Whitaker Community Dinner with clothing, sleeping bags, and a blanket drive. And the Co-op Education Service Learning class. I'm really inspired by Beverly Farfan, who does really work to make the world a better place. She was involved in prepping for this panel. However, she's working on a garage sale today to raise money for the Thanksgiving community dinner. And it's really been an honor to work with her. During Nancy Golden's keynote address yesterday, I was struck by the similarities between many of her core beliefs and those motivating this panel, namely possibility thinking, breakdown to breakthrough, and the power of the student voice. So let's open the panel with the power of 2 student voices. At our far end there, we have Jon Ellsworth and Michael Briggs, 2 LCC students who have been homeless and who will share some ideas and insights with us today. So would you welcome the panel, please?
Hi, my name is Jon Ellsworth. My friends call me Awesome on the streets. I am formerly not a homeless guy. I haven't always been homeless. I've actually lived all over Oregon, and I am a retired, I guess you could say, I'm a retired but shifting carpenter. I'm trying to work myself into a different line of work. Carpentry is a little too hard. I don't want to go into that. I want to go into my situation right now. During this transition of trying to change my lifestyle, I took up the academic scenario to find a new line of work. And let me tell you, it's a little bit harder than I thought it was, but I think I'm jumping ahead of myself right now. I want to start a little bit with my story from the beginning. I want to bring something from my youth to your attention, and it comes in the order of a homeless man that I met when I was really young. I was walking home from school one day, and I just met this guy, and for some reason I started talking to him, and he didn't seem like he was creepy or anything. He was clean, and he told me that he had 2 bachelor's degrees and a science degree. And he chose not to live in a house, and for reasons that that would just too great of detail to elaborate right now. But basically his reasons were that he didn't agree with how the system was set up, and I'm sure a few of you can recognize with that. Um, yeah. Yeah, I feel more comfortable with the microphone anyway.
He's a singer, right?
Yeah. I played the microphone in a band in high school.
Lord.
So, so I never really put any thought into it, and I've never really been homeless before. I've always had a place to stay. I've couch surfed a lot, and until I entered the academic system, I've never really seen hard times like this. And as of 2 months ago, I found the delivery of my college funds to be delayed quite a bit. Long story short, I had an eviction notice, and I tried to work with my landlord, and I let them know. I brought them all the notice I could, explaining to them that it was up to the Eagle, basically. It's basically up to the federal system and the school system to produce it and get the paperwork done. However, after so many of these stories, my landlord was like, sorry, you gotta go. It's been 2 months, you haven't paid rent. And I'm like, okay. So I hit the streets in my car, and I'm out there, and I'm like, look, I can do this. It's not gonna be a big deal. And it just starts getting harder and harder and harder. And it seems like the first problem that you have is the first time you notice the snowball that has been building up under you. And so what I've recognized on the streets these days, I didn't run into a lot of students. I've ran into a few people that have become homeless because of their inability to rent, because of their academic debt that has been risen. Not so much had been homeless while they were students, but have become homeless after being students and not being able to repay their debt, and having this, their credit not checked so clean for a renter and not be able to get into a place, was the major scenario that I see amongst the people that I am mingling with on the streets and in the mission, where I get a lot of my resources, and they are nil and far between. I think there's like 400 people in the mission right now, and I slept there one night, and I'll let you know, it's not easy to sleep when every minute there's 400 gentlemen. You know, how many people are snoring and all the other bodily functions that you have to deal with all night long, coughing. And I'm a snorer. I snore, so I got woke up because of my snoring. Anyway, long story short, it puts a real heavy burden on the academic stress case, the stress load, and it has been brought to my attention with the awareness and the courtesy of the other members here that there could be a process put into place, or there could be some little keystone areas that could help us out. And the first thing that came to mind to me was that as I sit here right now in the awkward smell of laundry, I bring to your attention the fact that laundry facilities are very difficult. And if there was a laundry facility here within the school, it would be so helpful, and it would drop a lot of stress. And along with laundry, shower hygiene is a big thing in school. You guys know that it's not fun when you're the smelly kid, and it's not fun to sit next to the smelly kid. Nobody can really think when there's a smelly kid, and when everybody's upset with the smelly kid can't think either. So,
Stinky.
yes.
I know the guy.
So with that,
Everybody knows the guy.
being said, there are a few more things that I think would be a big help. A food pantry, or a refrigerator, and a place that a hot plate could be plugged in, somewhere where we could heat up, leftovers or things that we get, from handouts, because it's not a cruel world out there. There is a lot of help. People do walk by and give.
And but cold food kind of sucks, and it's not the best. So a place to be able to warm up your food and store food, perishables, in school, like a refrigerator, a designated refrigerator, would be awesome. And another thing that I really, really think would be great and would take a huge load off of the school itself is if there could be a combination or a coalition with any community center for like a gym pass or a shower pass or a locker pass, some place to put things, so we don't have to carry everything around all the time. And it doesn't look like a full pass just to the lockers, or the showers or whatever. But I think that's about all I want to elaborate on right now. I'll save a few more things for my co-panelist, Michael. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Michael Briggs. Rose guy. I sell roses on the corner of 30th and the highway. Live on the mountain to the west. I'm caretaker for the property over there, adjacent to the LCC property. Lived there 3 years. I ran into LCC security to start with, and we didn't get along at first. But they realized that I get anxiety attacks there. That's why I can't get a job. I get anxiety attacks. But I'll get through this because there's a good message to send here. Security and I get along because I've cleaned up 12 camps. I clean up the road as I come up. I really think the school is doing a good job. There's a lot of resources available, and there's a lot of effort being put in. I think a lot of it is when people come in, I think counselors ought to ask them, how's your housing situation? How are you doing? And if they find out they're homeless, there ought to be some kind of coalition there that they can go, hey, join our meeting, join our homeless club. Or if you're close to being homeless, because God knows a lot of us are. I mean, how close are you to being homeless, all of you? If you lost your job, you had to sell your car, you lost your place, where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? There's not a safe place out there. It's tough out there. And I got lucky. But I think counselors ought to recommend effective learning, college success, computer basics, and trust me, that's a tough class. I used to program computers back in the 90s, and they were green screens. When it became user-friendly, it wasn't so damn user-friendly to me. You know, 50% of the signs in Eugene are made of cardboard? It's a joke I made up. Sorry. I was up all night writing on my computer what I was going to say and print it out and be able to lay it right here and talk to you, but the computer went out. I tried to pull it forward and the battery went out, and so I lost all that information. So this is what it looks like in the woods. This is what I got on Tuesday in a pre-meeting for this, and it's beat to hell. It's been rained on and wet, and all my artwork as an art major is destroyed. My portfolio's on my phone, which was stolen. I copied it on my computer, which is stolen. It's tough out there. It's a tough streets. And we all know that, I think. Even if you haven't been out there, you know that it's tough out there. So we're not concentrating on how to fix the world, Eugene. We're working on LCC, right? So we need to have available information to new students, especially, who are going through their first term that have to wait a month for their money, who aren't trying to overdo it or just steal money from the system and get the hell away. We need, people that, well, we got a lot of people that care. I can't tell you how many people that really care here. I've met so many. Sorry.
Michael, thank you very much for sharing, but for the sake of time, I really think we're going to have to move on.
Okay.
Our OSPIRG people really have some really wonderful things to share too.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, thanks for attending today. My name is Michael Weed. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for ASLCC here on campus, as well as the Chair for the Sustainable Food Committee. I'll touch on a couple points right before at the early end. There is a piece of paper I put in there. It's not colorized like mine in your pack of things, but it starts off with what's called the 3 pillars that food security is built upon, which was designated by the World Health Organization. Those principles start off with food availability, food access, and food use. So part of the Sustainable Food Committee's mission is to address those concerns. Foodability is based pretty much as sufficient quantities of food on a consistent basis. Food access is having sufficient resources to obtain appropriate foods for a nutritious diet. And then food use, appropriate use based on knowledge of basic nutrition and care, as well as adequate water and sanitation. On the other side of that piece of paper, I had thrown in some recent statistics. Last presentation, we had done the 2011 statistics. I kind of just talked about them. I didn't hand them out. I thought it'd be a little more useful if I provided them for you so you could see them. What we have here is this is printed out by the USDA every year. They do a report, and it's called the ERS report. And what we have at the top is the foods. This is a America-wide issue. So what I'm going to do is show and compare how LCC's statistics relate to the U.S. average, which is pretty much on par. So relatively about 14.5% of the people in the United States are considered to be food insecure, and that breakdown goes into 2 different categories, one being that they just might not have access to healthy food options, and then the second category, which is more detrimental, is the low food security and then the high food security. The high food security means those people really aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, which is about 5.7% of the people. I threw on the bottom little chart there just to show you that there's all these great breakdowns across the U.S. and all these subcategories and all these great things, but there's not one listed there for students. So we, with the Sustainable Food Committee, decided to take an action where we actually did some survey work to come up with our own ideas on people that are in that category. So what we had done was we had done some surveys and did some talking around campus, and we had found out that in the year of 2012 to 2013 season, approximately 10,589 students had applied for financial aid. Out of those students, 9,552, well, that's actually the students that received it, my bad. 9,552 students were at or below the poverty level, which many of you may know already is $11,740 for a single person. So that puts us in that category of people that may not necessarily have the access to money to purchase quantities of food that will sustain them through the years. Then our other students, there was actually another category where we had approximately 4,696 students that had actually listed that they actually received supplemental income from the government, which would be WIC, SNAP, and other benefits such as that, disability. One of the other things we did, we had taken some tallies of food cards that have been purchased. I don't know how many of you know that during the first week or so before school, there's a thing called deferred billing where you can go for a couple weeks, and students actually take the time to purchase food cards out of those up at the Titan Court, and that way they can ensure they eat. So we'll just skip the fall winter 2013 session. Out of 2,174 total food cards have been purchased. 2,080 of those were purchased using financial aid. When we were doing exit surveys with people, many of those people mentioned that was the way they were going to eat until financial aid disbursement. So that right there kind of gives you the idea that food is in the air for students. They're thinking about it. So we went on and we did a survey, and overwhelmingly we found out that there is a really big demand for a food pantry on campus. We've been working on this issue for quite a while now. Several times we thought it was within our reach, and then it was taken away due to lack of space on that. If y'all noticed today, the new torch is out. I'm not sure. I think we tried to get one at everybody's things there. There's actually on page 3 an article, an updated article, so I'll save a little time talking about that. But that was a conversation that me and Darlene had with Jon, a reporter from the torch, kind of updating the status of that. We've had a few developments that we're working on. I'm going to leave some of that for Darlene to discuss on that. But one of the things that I, in the capacity with student government, has done is I took the step forward to write an issue brief for the Oregon Student Association. What we do is Oregon Student Association members is every year or every 2 years we meet and decide what issues will work as a collective group for the students. Our goal, we start off with about 70-something issue briefs. I wrote mine on food insecurity and food sovereignty. I coalitioned with a group from PSU, and when we presented our proposal, we actually came in the #1 most voted spot. And so what we're doing now is we're doing a 10-item survey that we're passing around the students to see what issues they want to work on, and food security is one of those. It's been repeatedly voted into the #1 spot, so the students obviously, at least in our organizations, know that this is a need that needs to be addressed, and one of those things is a mandatory food pantry on all campuses. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Darlene now.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Darlene. I was the LCC OSPIRG organizer last year. We actually have a new one this year. So I'm the field organizer who's kind of like head in the state on issues pertaining to hunger and homelessness due to the work that's been done here. It's been great working with the students, and I'm personally a really big fan of coalitions, and I think this is just a beautiful example of how much potential is here on this campus and how well these students can work together. So I just kind of want to share with you all, kind of from the perspective of an organizer, what this has looked like and what's been entailed in making this happen. So the food pantry effort is a completely organic result of students and organizations just collaborating together to try to solve a problem. And that's a very real problem, the issue of hunger. In Lane County, 39% of the entire population is eligible for food assistance, which is quite a shocking statistic. And it's actually through work with OSPIRG's Hunger and Homelessness campaign that the kind of wheels started turning in terms of getting a food pantry on campus. It was something that was brought to the table by OSPIRG interns, by ASLCC students, and together actually they formed the Sustainable Food Committee, which is a ASLCC funded committee. And so it's just been great to see it all kind of come together. These students started organizing and really getting things going in the beginning of winter term, I would say, and it just really hasn't stopped since then. So I wanted to give you some examples of the hard work that they've done, but before I do that, I just want to kind of brief with you all. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the food pantry or what it would be like, but it would be a Food for Lane County sponsored food pantry, which means that they actually would give us all of the food for free. The only thing that we need to do is just set up the infrastructure in terms of volunteers and interns who would actually man the pantry. And of course, there's even potential for a work study position there down the line once we make this happen and prove it to be successful. So that would basically just entail having a site here on campus where students could go and actually just receive the food. As Michael said, that's been the greatest barrier to this point, is just finding the space, which I'll touch on a little bit more at the end. But at the end of the day, I think we all know that there is some space available on this campus, and there is an extreme need, as shown by some of the statistics Michael told you. So I'll just kind of go into how much work the students have done here to make this happen. So the first example is the surveys. What an amazing example of just research here done on campus, person to person, students reaching out to other students and having conversations about this in an honest and realistic way. We found, that 1 in 4 students would actually use the food pantry, which was really shocking. And beyond that, we had over a 50% volunteer rate. Now, given the rule of halves in organizing, that wouldn't quite turn out, but just to show you off the bat, students want this and students really care about it. So the next big thing that happened was actually a presentation to facilities. As we all know, kind of the space gurus on campus, I guess you could say. And so they did an amazing presentation. Actually, it was Michael and an OSPIRG student who couldn't make it today. Again, the coalitioning factor, but they did a great job. And I think facilities was really impressed by how organized and how much work they had put into this. And so it was just really great to see that. And then kind of moving on into the next thing, I'm not sure if any of you were at the in-service in the spring, but there were about 75 people in that room. And I think we have around 150 faculty sign-ons from the effort in the spring. That's faculty members signing saying that they would support a food pantry, which was started there. Beyond that, there was a Ninkasi fundraiser that raised money directly for the food pantry effort, which we actually have the money right now, and we'd like to put it towards a few things that I'll share with you in a minute, such as just renovating a shed that's out in the learning garden as a potential spot for the food pantry. But I just want to let you know that now I think this is the time that the campaign has been more organized than it ever has been before. We have a list of people who are potential volunteers, people who are interested in doing internships. Bev Farfan and some other teachers have collaborated to do a learning community based on hunger issues, which would be an excellent co-op plug for students to just get involved right here on their campus. And those are just examples of all the work that's gone into this, and I just want to let you know again, all this is literally coming back to a space issue. So what we've decided to do is go ahead and take up an offer that we got from Mike O'Neill in the food service, and there's a space in the top of the center building that is going to serve as our storage site. I'm sorry, in the basement. The top, the bottom, it's somewhere around there that's not accessible and super flashy. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run this food pantry on the campus. We're gonna, go ahead and get the volunteer infrastructure. Michael and I think are gonna be working together a lot to be kind of the coordinators of this, which is awesome. He's so great. And basically we're just gonna distribute the food, and I think our plan is, we're gonna do X number of events where we give the food out to people, and I think the goal here is that we're going to prove that we can do this, that we have the capacity to do it, and then we're going to say we had X number of distributions, we gave X number of pounds of food, coupling that with the plans that we have in terms of the structure of this thing, and beyond that, just the overwhelming support that we have from people like you. I'm going to plug into some actions that you can take that are on paper in front of you in just a second, but just to brief, at yesterday's luncheon we got 129 faculty signatures in an hour and a half with 4 volunteers. So that was great. One of them was the president of this school, and that's obviously great news. Yeah, exactly. Spill D, I'm sure you all know. And then we were actually asked by a BOE member to do a presentation about this at the next meeting. So these are all great things, and this is a really grassroots effort, but I'm going to chime in on how you all can potentially help out. So that petition, if you haven't signed it, there's one at your desk right now. There are 2 pink slips of paper. One of them is the petition, and the other one is just another plug for things you can do if you are interested in helping out. If you're a teacher, we'd love to tell your students about volunteer opportunities. And also, if you're really passionate about this, we are looking for a faculty sponsor, someone who would work with Michael and other students to just help make sure this thing sustains into the future. And that would only entail a few hours of work a month. There's more information on the page. But after saying all that, I'd just like to close with saying, the necessity is evident. The possibility for coalitions here are really immeasurable, from health sciences to social sciences to co-op. This is something that this campus needs, and it's something that it absolutely can have, and any help that you all can provide would be greatly appreciated, but I really have great confidence that these students are gonna keep kicking butt and make this thing happen, so thank you.
Hi, my name's Jamey Hobbs, and I want to take a moment to thank Karen for this opportunity. Can you all hear me? I don't know if this is... this is my way of giving back. Trying not to use the I'll tell you a little bit about myself and let it kind of progress, and hope you can all see that there is a possible wonderful outcome if you can give back just a little bit to help out those. I was the youngest of 3, raised by a single mother. We were not well-to-do, but we were not welfare recipients. I did not go to high school with my class. I chose to have a child, and I delivered my son just before I turned 15 years old. Through many decisions and bad choices of my own, that put me living under a bridge in a tent just over 10 years ago, 7 months pregnant with my second child. Just so you know, my son was not with me when I was homeless. He was living with my mother. And I was feeling pretty worthless. I didn't feel that I was worth anybody's time of day. And that, it was a real struggle. It was a real struggle to want to keep going being pregnant. And as a result of that, I ended up in some night shelters and some day shelters. And I had some of the most compassionate, understanding, non-judgmental people that I've ever met till I came to Lane. I'll get to that. That helped me, and they showed me some of those resources that are available. And it was simple things like clothing. I had a pair of shorts and I had a dollar store tank top. That was what I had. And the day shelter gave me some clothing. And some encouragement that I could be somebody. And that really went a long ways for me. As a result, excuse me, as a result of all that, I moved down here to Eugene, back towards my mom and my son. And I started out at a family shelter here. And they encouraged me to come here and go to the Women in Transitions program. And I really want to plug that because that was a huge turning point for me, to show up out here and have the staff and faculty in the Women's Center envelop me and say, it's okay. It doesn't matter where you came from. We're here about where you're going. Little things like the giving tree. I didn't even know what it was until they gave me a present for my now toddler son. I'm going to cry because the little things, the little things like having tables and toys for me to bring my son to, computers to come to, and print stuff out so that I could get in school. You know, the Women's Center really helped me out, and they gave me clothes so that I could have something besides sweats to wear to school. And as a result, I started feeling worth something. And I didn't know how to accept somebody else believing in me. And I continued. And it was kind of nice to be able to take a nap when I got really exhausted between doing work and whatnot. It was really nice to have a place that I could go and feel safe. Then I learned about the clothing stash. And if you haven't heard about the clothing stash, I do hope you can look into it. It's a wonderful program that's available here. And I clothed my toddler for years while I attended school here through the clothing stash, which was through donations from other people that didn't need it anymore. And it also allowed me to dress myself professionally so that while I had a work-study job here, I could show up and not be an embarrassment to the department I worked for. And not only that, but it also gave me interview clothes for when I went out in the real world. And I left Lane for about a year and a half between when I graduated and when I came back as a timesheet employee here. And it was due to the clothing stash that I had the interview outfit that I wore to go get that job that I had for 2 years. But another really, really big piece that gave me the ambition to apply for those jobs. There's some faculty and management and staff within and around the department that I currently work in of academic learning skills that gave me the encouragement and the compassion and the you're worth it's, that I went in and I applied for some scholarships here. And from coming from somebody who had a pair of shorts and a sleeveless tank top, 7 months pregnant, living in a tent, I didn't deem myself worthy of anybody's money. And but they kept pushing me and they kept saying, you're worth it. And not only did I apply for, but I received 3 scholarships while I was a student here at Lane. And that right there kept me going when I was ready to quit. Because not only did the people around me believe in me, but people I'd never even met, these people that totally intimidated me in the interview table, believed in me enough that they were willing to give their money to me. And as a result of that, I graduated. I got my associate's degree, and I became somebody worthy.
God bless.
Can we applaud for you right now?
That's kind of what my last card here says. I want to give thanks to all those that have donated, you know, the little things that go around for the foundation scholarships. I received one of those. And what that did for me as a person is exponential of what it did for my education. You know, when I have excess clothing, you know, I actually have a professional wardrobe today. And if I can get over this little lump that I'm going to fit back into that size that's 2 sizes too small for me. Not if, when I get over it, you know. I have a whole bag of clothing, and the reason I'm holding on to it is because I want to bring it out here to the Women's Center and to the clothing stash, because it's not about goodwill where somebody who has a home and has a paycheck can go get it. To me, giving back is giving back to that student that doesn't have it, that needs it, and that wants to take what you're willing to give them in their education and make it a whole person. And it really means a lot. I've used a lot of resources that have been around. To cut down on my power bill at home and my water bill, I took PE classes just to have the showers. And, you know, I was talking with somebody recently, and the food programs are wonderful. They really, really are. And the state does help with, you know, programs like SNAP, but it's not like it used to be. You know, today the things that, you know, I really believe people need help with are the toiletries. A bottle of shampoo. Oh my gracious, it's awesome to have shampoo to wash my hair instead of the free soap that's in the shower. You know, the toothbrush and the toothpaste, so you're not using the same toothbrush for 10 years while you're out there. It's the little things that today I try not to ever take for granted, because I remember what it was like not to have them. And I want to put a shout out to, you know, Karen heard me say something, and she's like, wow, you know, and pulled me right in. I'm not a public speaker here, but you know, there's so many people in my life that I would love to thank. And it's just, I give back by simply helping somebody. You know, Monday's my favorite day of the year. I love working out here on Monday. It's the first day of fall term. It is full of students that have never been here. They're lost, they're confused, they're terrified. They don't know where to go, they don't know what to do. And this is just what's based on school. This is not based on whether or not they have a home or are going to still have a home come, you know, October 1st or November 1st. And to be able to just take a moment and say, can I help you? And have them walk away with their shoulders a little straighter, their head a little higher, and their eyes a little clearer. And it makes my day worth it. And Monday's the day that I get to do that tens upon hundreds of times if I'm lucky. Hopefully. And I really hope that each one of you can just take that, and, you know, when you see that scared face on Monday, say, how can I help you? Because that 2 minutes it takes out of my day to help one person, it honestly carries me through fall term into the winter term. Just one person helps me. And the greatest part is when I have that student come back at midterms or finals, when they're feeling a little frustrated and a little scared, just to get that, it'll be okay. And it helps them get through. And then after 2 or 3 terms, they're coming by and saying hi and thank you. So, yeah.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Okay, so my name is, how much time do I have?
I don't know, is that clock accurate? We have about 10 minutes, right? About 10 minutes?
Okay, so my name is Leslie Soriano Cervantes, and I am very blessed to be a counselor here at Lane. And just really quick, being homeless is scary. It's not easy. When I was in college, not by choice, I was homeless for a while, slept in my car, showered at the gym, would, in my university cafeteria, would look and see, okay, who's done with their meal. If they left it at the table, I'd go sit and act like I was sitting there, and I would eat the meal and take the sandwich with me. You know, so it was scary. I'd have public safety knock at my window and tell me, okay, you can't sleep here, you have to move. You know, so it wasn't by choice, and I was very fortunate to meet the person who's now my best friend in my college, and she was my college roommate who saw, you know, knew that I was sleeping in my car and told a stranger, and she was like, you can come and stay in my place. And I was like, I don't have a job to pay rent. And I was like, I've been looking and I can't find one. And she was like, I'll help you get a job on campus. You know, so because of my job on campus and the person, my college roommate, I got a roof over my head. So Working with these students is an amazing experience for me. Being a counselor here is amazing because I get to help them. And as staff, faculty, Lane employees, you have that opportunity to empower the students, to help them, provide them resources, and also to contribute to the clothing stash, the food pantry, all the resources that we have here on campus and that we're hopefully getting the food pantry soon. So you have the power to be able to contribute and help. I put this list together of resources. It's a yellow handout that you have, one of the many handouts that you have in front of you. And these are resources that Lane Community College has. One of the pages is resources that Lane Community College has. The counseling department is one, the no clothing stash, and so forth. If you have a student that comes to you and you see that they may need some clothes, you can inform them, do you know about these resources? And maybe either make a copy or let them know that on the Lane homepage in the clothing stash, these resources are there also available for the students and for you and your colleagues. There's also community services, so not just at Lane, but a list of community services where students can be referred to, and also some social services, which is at the end. So please put this away, don't throw it away or shred it. Also, when I was doing research the first time I was on the panel, I found this information to be very informative. It's another green sheet that you have. It's a difficult life of students in homeless situations. They don't choose to be homeless. They weren't, when they were little, saying, I want to be homeless. It's again life circumstances that people, people are where they're at. And then our students are looking for, to better themselves, to improve themselves, and get a job, and hopefully have a roof over their heads once again. So there are common problems students face. One of them might be family mobility due to housing instability, couch surfing, sleeping in your car, sleeping under freeways, whatever the situation is. These are some of the problems that they face. In the shelters, I've heard people say, well, why don't they go to a shelter? They may not feel safe in a shelter. They may not get there on time to get to the shelter before they close the doors, and other, reasons that they may have. Jamey just said it, lack of basic resources. I was just thinking how this morning I took, I did just my shampoo. Just put a lot of it on me and put it on my head, and I'm like, oh my, I didn't think about that. The resource of, basic toiletries. The effects of homelessness could be, it's like they might, I've heard people say, well, they're slow. They don't learn fast. It's not that they're slow. Again, it's resources. It's like that, and that's where we come in to help our students. Social, they may have emotional stressors, and the list is over here for you to read. It's like when I found this website and found this information, I was like, wow, these are a lot of things that our students go through. If you have a student that, it may be like, well, why don't they take a shower? Again, it's like finding a place to take a shower may not be easy. So if you could please, go through this and look at the information on how to better help these students. It's like we at Lane work at an amazing campus. We're welcoming. I love the faculty that we have here, the staff that we have here, that, it's like we're welcoming. It's like, and I've heard my colleagues empower our students. And I was like, wow, that is so awesome. I'm so fortunate to work here. When we talk to students, remember body language is so important. I had a student that came to my office one day, and, his body odor was very strong. And he opened my office door and he said, I'm really sorry, I haven't showered in days. I can't remember when I last showered. And instead of me doing this, getting back, it's like I just leaned forward, and he was like, thank you for making me feel comfortable. And I was like, what do you mean? Not thinking about it. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you didn't pull away. You even leaned forward to talk to me and listen to what I have to say. Empathy is a very important tool that makes a person feel safe, welcomed, and comfortable. Another resource that I was looking through the internet yesterday, and I found this really neat article, and it's on the Washington Post. For homeless college students, each day brings test of will. more stories of real college students, where they come from, what they experience, and then where they're at. So some fun reading.
Hi, I'm Steve Candy. I'm sure I know a lot of the folks who are out there. Some of you may know that I'm actually transitioning this year into sort of semi-retirement. And so it's meant a letting go of some of the stuff that I've been doing over the years, which I frankly didn't realize how tough that was going to be. Especially, I mean, the political science courses, have been fun, and so I'm still going to be doing that. But it's particularly the co-op program that I've been involved in, political science, pre-law, and some of the student groups on campus. And I have to tell you, it's been one of the most gratifying experiences that I've had. Working with OSPIRG, both as co-op coordinator and also as a faculty advisor, working with ASLCC students, Oregon Student Association students. And so what I've chosen to do in my reduction in my load in retirement is to, with the co-op, to focus pretty exclusively on the student groups here, as opposed to the political campaigns and the legislative placements and the law offices and other things. And one of the most gratifying things for me has always been sort of tracking the students, or the students staying in touch with me after they've left here who have done co-op. And a couple of weeks ago I ran into one of my former students who we had communicated by email a couple of times, but then it'd been a while since I'd seen him. And I happened to look in the register guard, and I don't usually look in the wedding and anniversary section, as a rule. I usually look more at the obits. You get to my age, and you start looking at the obituaries. But I'd seen him in there, and then I ran into him that day, and he had been a student in co-op in Senator Wyden's office in the VA work-study program. And he did that for 2 years. And so when we saw each other, he started, he was very excited. He had just gotten, after 14 months, approval from the IRS for setting up a 501c3 nonprofit corporation to set up a veterans food bank. And so he and a friend from Portland are, in fact, he was going to try to be here today, but unfortunately was up in Portland. And they're hoping that they'll have it off the ground and running to provide food for veterans and their families by the beginning of the year. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that another former student of mine who I have stayed in contact with, this is another thing, I've been very fortunate, the number of students that I've had over the years that I've been able to stay in contact with. This is a guy who has worked in the political realm, in the social service area, and he was just recently hired as the new director of the Egan Warming Center. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's something that was set up back in 2008 in memory of Major Thomas Egan, who had, quite literally frozen to death on the streets of Eugene. Oh, okay. Anyway, the Egan Warming Center will be open starting November 15th. They will be open until the end of April. You can see them. You can go to their website. It's just Egan Warming Center. It's either .com or .org. .com. And they will be looking for volunteers to be trained and to work the various shifts that they have. So I encourage any of you who may be so interested to definitely check them out. So thanks very much.
I want to thank you all for coming today. I understand that the next group is ready to set up, and we don't want to take their setup time. There are breakout session evaluations up by the back, and make sure that you have signed in for this session. The folks on this panel will be up at the back. If you want to talk to anyone, we could have a conversation outside the room. Thank you so much for coming today.
Lane Online. Learn. Unlearn, relearn.